Hello once again and welcome back to semi-final number 2. So, first off, as we always like to say at the start of these videos, make sure that you've watched the other ones first.
Spoiler alert!
So as you can see, we've had semi-final 1 where Dan was the winner of that. But the question is, who's he going to be against? Is it going to be Jack or is it going to be Craig? Jack, in his group A, he pretty much nailed it. I mean,
smashed it.
He got 57 points. Craig shouldn't be underestimated. Yes, he did come second in group B. And I could see some skill there. I could see some fire in his belly.
It was a close finish, and he definitely had, like you mentioned it, fire in his belly. He has a point to prove, so it'd be interesting to see over the course of this video whether he can prove it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to find out. Let's watch now.
Craig needs to start getting some victories on the score sheet to get through this, and as you can see from his face there, I think he's just had a seizure.
The apprehension on his face, the anxiety, it's all there. But who knows, Mario Kart is a chaotic kind of game. Anything can happen.
Just to confirm things then, Craig is the screen on the left, he is Luigi, whereas Jack is Waluigi.
Yeah, so basically Jack is Luigi's alter ego in this, so it kind of is fitting.
And Jack is driving around in a Mercedes, bit of bling, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Kids these days representing yo.
Yep, Jack does represent the youth. But what's interesting is that Craig is ahead of him at the moment.
See, this isn't. I'm not going to comment on that too much yet because that has happened. I'm pretty sure in the groups, Jack kind of drops far behind.
Absolutely, anything can happen.
Whilst Craig clearly holding onto a red shell just in case Jack comes past him.
Yeah,
and it's fairly close here. Craig's just a little bit in front of Jack in first. Was Jack now behind him in second? Fires a green shell but misses as a boomerang comes flying past his ears. Craig still cuddling that red shell like it's offering him some sort of comfort, and there he goes. Does he get rid of the egg?
Yeah, he fired the red shell behind. Now the thing with firing red shells behind is they don't home in like they would if you fire them ahead. Oh, that's unfortunate for Craig. He's been hit by a blue shell.
But also, Jack has a red shell in his hand, so it's probably not the worst thing because he was going to get hit either way, I think, there.
Yeah, you might be right there, definitely. So now, of course, it's looking good for Jack all the same because he's got a red shell to defend himself with.
And Craig got some coins, much like happened in the last race in the last video. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go back and watch semi-final 1, the very final race. Obviously, the third race before you get to that is definitely worth a watch, but in the final race, Jamie was looking for an item to help him at the end. He only got some coins, which is exactly what just happened to Craig at this point, and Jack seems to be building himself a lead, but the lightning bolt hasn't come at a favourable time for him. Well, Craig gets 3 mushrooms, and this could be him taking the lead back from Jack.
Now, what Craig could have done there actually is use that mushroom to just cut that little bit of grass, but
do some lawn mowing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Controversial decisions there.
Could have just stopped off, done a bit of grass cutting because such is his confidence.
Oh, but Craig has taken the shortcut over the bridge using the speed boosts, and
now he's gone the lower way on this bit. I mean, there are so many different options, and you can, for this bit that Craig's just passing now, there was a ramp up which can go up as well, and if you can get the power sliding just right, you can kind of slide all the way up there and get quite a good boost. It's difficult, there are so many different routes in this.
Wow!
Ooh, he's got fire flower, and
he hits one, but he's dropped down to 5th, so he must have missed some speed boosts at that point. While Jack is in first, building himself quite a considerable lead. Craig needs to get something here off of that speed boost, but hits the side before doing it. That's got to be.
Get a good item. He's just got 1 mushroom. It's probably not good enough, really.
It could get him a place, which
it could. He's got to take this corner well.
Oh. 4th place.
4th place. Is it going to be 4th?
Just as the Koopa Trooper comes back.
Oh, it's unfortunate. And
then gets trashed just as he crosses the line as well. Jack's just going to look for another victory. Craig just looks like Craig. So on the way again, just to confirm, Craig is Luigi and Jack is Waluigi. 2 differing characters, 2 differing performances so far, but could all change as Jack does exactly what he did in the last race and rockets his way into 1st place, while Craig not too far behind him in 3rd.
Too far, yeah. And this course, by the way, is another of those from another Nintendo game courses. There's another game that you may or may not have heard of called F-Zero.
F-Zero,
yes.
I remember the original F-Zero on SNES.
Yes, so
although there was a more modern version of the game which I never played, but I did play the original.
there. So we've got Hyrule Castle as well in this game. We've got quite a few different like downloadable content ones that are from different Nintendo games. It's fun. They've got a lot to work with, Nintendo. It's quite a short course and fairly simple as well. Both of the players at the stage, of course, aren't doing too bad first and fourth.
Jack seems to have quite a bit of a lead on Craig at this point, even fairly early on in the game.
It's about hitting all the speed boosts. That's what this map's about. And it is quite difficult to do, of course, because they're quite spread out. Some of them.
I think it's about an 8-second lead I've just counted roughly then that Jack has over Craig.
So basically, again, it's another case of needing those items.
Although Red Shell is coming and pow! So that's going to eat up 3 to 4 seconds maybe.
Jack's dropped to third after a couple of hits.
As Craig gets...
I think the lightning actually saved Craig there. He was boosting off the...
He's only a couple of places behind at this point in time.
Yep. Yeah, I think maybe the gap has narrowed a little bit after that barrage that Jack had. I don't know. It's difficult to tell.
As Craig has a bomb, what does the bomb do?
Well, pretty much as you would expect, to be honest. You throw it, and after a few seconds, it blows up. Or instantly, in that case. I think it depends whether it hits someone or not, as to whether it goes off straight away. But it's a dangerous item.
A string of boosts here from Craig. It's going to help close the gap, and I can hear behind me in the audience whispers of, "Come on, Craig!"
Yep, there's no bias here, but... and
Craig's
it's still
cutting the gap. I mean, he kind of needs... that's probably not going to help him close it. He needed something maybe along the lines of a blue shell there to help close the gap. But if anybody else has one in the race, then that will be helping Craig's cause. But green shells at this point, not exactly very useful.
No, and they can sometimes cause such problems for you as your opponents.
And
big shame
I thought that was going to be the end of the race. But Jack takes first place and another 15 points, while Craig looks to finish inside the top 4.
Skidded stylishly over the finishing line thanks to a banana. Okay, well,
13 points is the gap now.
This is tough. This is very, very tough. It's not that Craig's been terrible. He's not come last or anything in his last 2 races, but 17 versus 30 is still, quite a gap. Jack's going to need to have a terrible round. He's need to...
Just checking out Jack's smug face.
Yeah.
Look at the smug.
Oh.
Look at it growing.
Oh, it's a horrible sight. Let's see whether Craig can, bring one back. I mean, obviously, as a commentator...
Well, Dan was in Jack's group, wasn't he? And I seem to remember in the very first groups, there was some horrible collusion between those two to get points. And strangely enough, at this point, it's looking like they're both going to be in the final. So I think we're going to have to revisit this from an adjudication perspective after the whole tournament's complete. And just give Craig and Jamie the first place shared equal.
I think that's highly likely to happen. We do not allow cheating in the Mario Kart Cup. Now then, this is a course we've not had so far in this tournament, and it's a bit of a tricky one actually.
Craig was living dangerously back there. He's got a red shell though, so if he does get to take,
he's cutting the corners quite
F1 driving here, like eating the insides of the corners as he drops back to third and then gets hit by Waluigi. But if he lets that shell go, and he takes him back.
Wow, and the underwater nature of this, of course, is going to change the sort of handling of the karts a little bit. It's going to feel more floaty.
And driving into big things is going to make the car not as responsive.
That's probably not going to help weather on land.
Interesting, Craig has 3 mushrooms, whilst Jack has 3 red shells. So
now,
if he takes over him, then he's going to be obviously pegged back a little bit. And there we go.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to watch out when you're boosting in front of an opponent who's got a red shell. And the thing is, actually, of course, Craig wouldn't know if he hasn't any experience in this course, but there was a point.
And he's eaten another one of Jack's red shells, so playing that very sensibly there,
definitely
holding on to it, but then gets trashed himself while Craig overtakes him and plays that very well. I mean, absolute edge riding, but then as soon as I say that...
too hard, maybe. Pushes it too far. Oh, he really is.
Shouts of "What is he doing?" coming from behind us in the studio. I think Craig is playing to his absolute best of his abilities to throw this game away.
The thing is, he's pushing himself too hard. And
whereas Jack gets hit by something, I didn't quite see that, and the lightning strike comes in, and both players are. Did you?
I mean, I understand Craig's logic to an extent. He has to put in an amazing performance and cut those corners as best he can, because that's where we are now in the tournament. But even so, blue shell.
Red shell, blue shell even coming just as Jack's taking first place, and now bam.
That will close the gap, and Jack isn't first at least anymore, which I'm sure will hurt his pride, which is important. Sorry, commentators are neutral. I should be neutral here, but I just can't help it. I see Jack's smug face.
Some more of this driving from Craig as Jack is doing. Is that breakdancing? It is breakdancing.
Pretty much, and I've got to warn Craig at this point not to do that.
Whereas Jack's just got a nice. Look at that showboat. And just avoids the green shell there.
A bomb which could cause chaos.
He's got quite considerable.
He's going to get hit by it. Oh, the bombs are dangerous. I always put them behind me, which is also possible. Oh, I'm afraid.
See, that bomb could have sealed it with a game to go. I'm fairly sure that could put Jack more than 15 points, but the 15 points is irrelevant. It's 19 essentially, because Jack will be guaranteed 4 points in the last race at least, because that's what you get for finishing last. Plus 15 points could be a gap. So yeah, as long as the gap is. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's 22 versus.
So is it 19?
It's easily over, because the most points you can get is 15, isn't it? Anyway.
So Craig was playing for fun, and now Luke has made it mean something yet again. So now not only is it you're playing for pride, not fun, pride.
No, absolutely, pride more important. And how's Jack done with the other 3 races in terms of he's not got first in all of them, has he?
I think he has.
Right, well that's got to change, surely, from Craig's point of view. You won't want his opponent to get 4 first places.
Yeah, to finish 7 out of 8 races in first place. It's Jack, the smug grin has gone, and now it's game face.
His concentration face is still there. He's still trying. You can tell that much at least.
Okay, so I mean, we're recording this obviously over a couple of days. Jack qualified through the groups yesterday. Does he have this game at home? And if he does, what do you reckon he spent all of last night playing this game?
Absolutely did, yeah, without a doubt. I know that despite him saying, who owns a Wii U console nowadays, which is what we're playing on, the answer is Jack owns a Wii U console, and he's playing it at home every day.
Well, when I said, do you think he was playing it last night, Jack kind of gave a knowing grin, so I would say that's a definite yes.
Absolutely. He's bought a Wii U console specifically for this, I reckon. And he's in second,
fighting with Toad for that first place, but the power slide surely should take it from him, and it does. Green shell now, throws it back.
Can't do much with that.
The green shell's heading towards Craig, although there's a bomb just in front of him, but use of the mushroom gets him away from that danger.
I think Craig just needs to master the cornering a little bit more, and he'd have been far more in with a shout.
No, see, I think Craig needs to master Mario Kart.
That too. And both characters have been inked at the moment, which is only going to. Well, it's not going to make much difference actually to Craig's driving, to be honest. It was just as bad, but.
Ouch!
I'm sorry.
Jack's just chilling out with a banana.
Craig's taking.
Sorry, I mean with Craig. And much like it was in Jamie's race, Craig's been absolutely pummeled in this, while Jack's had a little bit of a free ride, but surely it must be too late in the game for anything to happen.
All I'm getting the flashbacks to that game where Dan spent most of the entire race in first, and then somehow Jamie managed to take over at last moment. But I don't think that's going to happen this time.
No,
there is a blue shell thing coming though, I think. Oh, we got past the line first anyway. So that'll probably hit whoever was second. I'm afraid Craig is at 8th. He's got a star. You can cut over this course a bit when you've got a star as well. The corner, should I say.
Nice strong finish from Craig there at the end.
Well, what can I say? It's a perfect round for Jack with 60 points.
Seven out of 8 wins. and could he be the favourite going into the final? You kind of have to think he is.
You have to
Although
say that,
Dan has now left the room purely. I mean, we can only read into that it is fear that has crippled him, so he's had to leave. While Jack finishes the second semi-finals with twice the points that Craig did.
No! We were talking about fire in the belly just before we got into that video, and the answer is no fire, no belly. There was no belly. So Jack absolutely destroyed Craig, finishing, was it like 60 versus 28 points, on twice as many points.
Huge amount.
So we have our two finalists. We have Dan. We have Jack. Two worthy finalists are going to be taken out in the next video in this series. Just to give you a quick refresh, if you've not watched the previous videos and you watch this one, then what are you doing? But this is the Mario Kart Cup, and we are about to embark on the final. The next video on this channel will be the Mario Kart Cup final. So make sure you subscribe. What was that?
It's the biggie.
It is the biggie, and that exactly leads on to what I was about to say. Make sure you subscribe to the channel with your notifications on so you do not miss the final of all finals, or at least the final of this final. Yeah, that's what it was.
Something like
that's
that.
What it. So if you like this video, make sure you hit like now. Until next time, from Luigi and Mario, let's
Goodbye.
go.